The Foreign Office calls its Sudan evacuation a success as the final rescue flight leaves tonight. The faces of the frightened on board and heading for safety, but thousands more may have been left behind.
There's planes flying over, there's guns firing, there's people getting robbed. It's really not easy.
Also tonight, calls for urgent reform to school inspections from the sister of a head teacher who took her own life. England clinched their 5th consecutive Women's Six Nations title. And destiny awaits King Charles as a symbolic stone arrives in London for the coronation.
This is ITV News with Lucy Watson.
Good evening. The Foreign Office is declaring its evacuation of British nationals from Sudan a success tonight, as the last rescue flight leaves the war-torn country. They are describing it as the longest and largest evacuation by any Western country, removing nearly 2,000 people since the flights began on Tuesday. But thousands more Britons and their families are thought to have been left behind. The Foreign Secretary said tonight they will continue to be supported as the UK urges the warring factions to end the violence. Here's our political correspondent, Carl Dinnan.
Wadi Sydney Airfield near Khartoum tonight, and the last RAF evacuation flights are preparing to leave with UK nationals and NHS doctors on board. More than 1,888 people have been airlifted out on 21 flights this week. Ministers say the numbers coming forward for evacuation have been diminishing, although this aircraft still looked about as full as it could be. Yet not everyone has been getting through. 7-year-old Mohammed Nail Haider Abdullah is British through his father, his family say, but he's stuck in Sudan without a passport. His mother has been trying unsuccessfully to get him on one of the British flights.
To just get to the airbase is a life-threatening journey because although there are claims of a ceasefire, there is no actual ceasefire that's taken hold on the ground. And so they go there, they go to the front of the line, all these documents with them, and then they're turned away.
And with the fighting continuing, others, like Maureen, who spoke to us from the north of Khartoum, thought it too risky to make the trip to the airfield.
There's planes flying over, there's guns firing. There's surgeons about, there's people getting robbed. It's really not easy. People don't understand. They think you should take that risk, but it's not that easy. And I don't feel confident enough to do that. I don't know if you can hear the firing now, the shooting.
There are still ways to get out. Thousands of people are leaving from Port Sudan, but it's a long way from Khartoum, as are the land borders with South Sudan and, in the north, Egypt.
Sorry for those who are still in Sudan, not yet coming out. We don't know how they are doing.
Tonight, the final RAF flights were starting to arrive back in Cyprus. Those who couldn't make it will still be offered advice by the Foreign Office, but won't be offered rescue.
Carl, just how many British citizens are still in Sudan? Do we even know?
It's hard to tell. The initial estimate was that there could be about 4,000 people, citizens and dependents, who were eligible to come out. Just under 2,000 have been brought out. That may include some people like the NHS doctors who weren't in that original number. So there could be 2,000 plus people still in Sudan who could have been brought out. Some of them may not want to come out. There isn't fighting absolutely everywhere, but there are others like Maureen, who we heard from in my report, who very much do want to leave but feel trapped and unable to leave their homes.
Oh, thank you. Head teachers who also work as school inspectors are being called upon to quit their Ofsted jobs today by the sister of a head teacher who took her own life. Ruth Perry died after her school was given the lowest possible rating. Today, her sister asked those who work for the regulator to stop contributing to what she called Ofsted's reign of terror. Sam Holder reports.
The death of Ruth Perry looms large at the annual conference of the National Association of Head Teachers. In January, she took her own life following an Ofsted inspection. Her death has sparked a revolt against the watchdog. At the conference, Ruth's sister urged head teachers who work as inspectors to quit their roles with Ofsted.
You're working within a flawed, inhumane system. Refuse to be complicit in Ofsted's reign of terror. Inspectors, hand in your badges.
Head teacher Deborah Mansfield-Clark had already been thinking about resigning as an Ofsted inspector. After hearing the speech, she got up and told the conference she was quitting.
This morning, I decided enough is enough. I am going to resign from being an Ofsted inspector. Being that person who walks into a school that makes someone else feel like that, and I decided I can't do that anymore.
There is a growing backlash here against Ofsted, issues which many head teachers had felt privately for a long time, now being aired in public. The incoming president of the National Association of Head Teachers is calling for schools to refuse to display Ofsted ratings.
The most recent inspection we had at my school, which was last week, the impact it had on my staff was significant.
From September, you are set to represent head teachers across the country. How would you characterise Ofsted?
I think it's not fit for purpose in its current guise. I think we do need an accountability system, but I think currently it's doing more harm than good.
In another act of opposition to Ofsted, Queen Emma Primary School in Cambridge has announced it will legally challenge an inadequate rating. In response to today's criticism, Ofsted say their inspections are for children and parents to look at how well and safely schools are run. But head teachers believe the pressures are putting teacher safety at risk. Sam Holder, ITV News, Telford.
Police in Texas are searching for a man suspected of killing 5 of his neighbours after an argument. Among the victims were 2 women and an 8-year-old child. Police say the suspect appeared to be drunk as he began shooting a rifle randomly outside his house. When a neighbour asked him to stop, he entered their home and shot the victims.
A gentleman stepped out of his house, said, "Hey, we're trying to keep an infant to bed," and he says it's his property. He'll do whatever he pleases on his property. The man went back in the house. Next thing they know, he's walking up the driveway with the rifle in hand.
To sport now, and it's been a landmark day for women's rugby. A world record crowd gathered at Twickenham to watch England's Red Roses win the Six Nations title for the 5th year in a row. Chris Scudder was there.
Come on, England! The Red Roses headlining Twickenham for the first time, and a world record crowd of more than 58,000 for a Grand Slam decider. It was a nervy start against their biggest rivals, but then this, England's first attack and a memorable try from Abby Dow. She scores! That brought the house down and settled the nerves. A second try soon followed from captain Marley Packer. Then 3 more without reply. 33-0, game surely over by half-time, or so it appeared. That's 5 tries for England! France hadn't beaten England for 5 years either, but they battled away, scoring 5 tries that had the Red Roses hanging on by the finish. Bane goes over! But they held out a 5th straight unblemished Six Nations title, all in coach Simon Middleton's final match. And how times have changed for the women's game.
We played here, I think it was 20 years ago, against France. We basically made history, so it was the first game for the women to be able to compete at Twickenham. And I think there's probably about 200 people.
The journey that the women's game's been on, especially in the last, if you think about it, in the last 4 years, I mean, I think everyone's sort of aligned in the right way and making it and empowering them and allowing them to, you know, be their own game, and we should all just get behind him.
All that's left now for England is the World Cup. Losing the final last year in New Zealand remains their only defeat since 2018. They'll hope to put that right when the World Cup comes here in 2 years' time. Chris Scudder, ITV News, Twickenham.
The Coronation Street actress Barbara Young has died at the age of 92. She had multiple roles in the ITV soap, including Barbara Platt and, more recently, Doreen Fennick. Young appeared on Last of the Summer Wine, Doctors and Casualty. Her daughter described her as beautiful, opinionated, warm-hearted and talented. And finally, an enormous amount of detail about exactly what will happen during the King's coronation has just been released. 1 week from today, Westminster Abbey will witness rituals that have endured for centuries, alongside new elements added at the request of the King. It comes as the final piece of the coronation puzzle arrived at the Abbey today, Scotland's Stone of Destiny. Amy Lewis has more.
The sacred stone upon which British monarchs have been crowned for centuries has been placed inside Westminster Abbey. The Stone of Destiny, an ancient symbol of Scotland's monarchy, has arrived in England for the first time in a quarter of a century ahead of the coronation.
Well, of course, the stone being back here is a sense of real unity.
The King at the Abbey, in line with Charles's wish to defend all beliefs. The ceremony, whilst rooted in tradition, has been modernised to welcome a new monarch and a new era. Amy Lewis, ITV News.
And that is it from the Late Team. Thank you very much for watching. Good night. Bye-bye.
Today will be lovely and warm, and by breakfast time it could be on the sunny side. Heinz Tomato Ketchup, no added sugar and salt, sponsors ITV National Weather.
Hello again, very good evening to you. I hope you've had a lovely start to the long bank holiday weekend. Certainly has got pretty wet across western parts as we move through the night. This is the picture by the time we get to 5 o'clock in the morning. It's still largely dry across the central and southeastern areas, maybe a bit misty and murky in places as well as the winds fall light, but definitely quite a wet start to Sunday. Now, we are expecting that rain to continue to slowly move eastwards through the day, really in the form of showers or longer spells of rain. And again, just like today, the potential for some heavy, even thundery bursts of rain at times, turning into a mixture of sunny spells and showers there across Northern Ireland and the western fringes of Wales and southwest England. I think the far east will remain largely dry, fairly bright as well, but clouding up as we move through the afternoon, but not a cold day at least. Then we look ahead to Monday. It's a mixture of sunny spells and showers in the south, largely dry but a bit cloudier across the north. That's it. Good night. Sleep well.
Heinz Tomato Ketchup, no added sugar and salt, sponsors ITV National Weather.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV London Weekend Weather.
Hello there, good evening. We've done well to dodge the showers today, and I think we'll dodge them tomorrow too. But later on in the day and through the evening, we'll start to see this band of showery weather head towards us. That'll be lurking nearby on Bank Holiday Monday. And then as we head into much of the rest of the week, actually looking pretty settled and fine. Now, as far as overnight goes, some mist and fog patches developing in rural spots. I don't think we'll see that in town. A cool night, lows of around 6 or 7 Celsius, might go a touch chillier than that in 1 or 2 rural spots. Tomorrow then, any mist burning back nice and quickly, some good sunny spells out there. Bit of high cloud making that sunshine a touch hazy, and then through the day we'll start to see more in the way of fair weather cloud bubbling up and thickening up out towards the west as you see those showers moving in. Ahead of those showers, 18 or 19 Celsius. 1 or 2 of those showers through tomorrow evening might turn out to be a bit on the hefty side. And then as far as Monday goes, that system sort of hovering with us and out towards the Thames estuary, up towards the Essex coast there, might hear the odd rumble of thunder and some pretty heavy downpours, but hopefully they'll push off into the North Sea and allow some good sunny spells to get us up to 20 Celsius, 68 in Fahrenheit. It might be a touch cooler on Tuesday. That's your weather. Here's your pollen.
Valent sponsors ITV London Weekend Weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
Pollen-wise, we're starting to see grass pollen emerge. We've still got a little bit of birch, but that's going out of fashion. And oak pollen is an issue too. You've got high counts to deal with over the next few days. Sleep well. Night-night.